Toss a coin to your witcher, O Valley of Plenty, O Valley of Plenty, oh. You know what time it is. Let's go. Be more than human. Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Joseph Carroll. I write under the pen name J.R. Carroll. And today, this has been a long time coming, but we are finally getting into The Witcher.
Fuck.
Now, if you've watched my channel for any length of time, you know that Dresden is my favorite series of all time. As you can see, all the memorabilia and whatnot, and there's even more. You've seen the posters, but you may or may not know that The Witcher is my second favorite series of all time, and I'm beginning to build up my collection of Witcher stuff as well. My wife got me this lovely Witcher world map, which I'm super geeked about and very nerdy when it comes to The Witcher. Now, this review is going to be The Last Wish, but before we get into that, I wanted to kind of tell you about my Witcher journey. My best friend was telling me for years that I need to get into The Witcher, and then he also played the Witcher games. He played the original Witcher games. And then I was like, maybe I'll get around to it. And then my wife got me The Witcher 3. And my friend was telling me that it's basically a sequel to the books. So I was like, okay, before I get into this game, I'll go ahead and read the books. And so I read all 7 of the books. And I was just blown away. I was like, this is crazy. This is crazy good. And then I went on to play the games, and at least to me, it made the game even that much better. And I put like 200 hours into the game and all the DLC and everything. So hey, let me know in the comments, how did you come to The Witcher? Did you go to the games and then the books and then the games? A little bit of both. Let me know. I'm very interested. I'm always interested in people's Witcher journey. So before we start rolling into that, we are going to have a Witcher Last Wish discussion on the 25th. We're going to have Andrew from Andrew's Wizardly Reads. We're going to have Bryce from Shelf Centered. We're going to have JCM Byrne, my fellow self-pub author, myself, and of course my friend Nathan, who joins all these lives. And on the Sunday the 25th, it's going to be great. We'll have I'll keep that updated. And if you like this kind of content and you like these live discussions, make sure you like, subscribe, and check out my Patreon down in the description if you want to support the channel and my writing. So let's jump into it. Now, what most people with The Last Wish, I think most of the things that your average Witcher fan talks about in just random conversations about The Witcher, most of them, I'd say 80% of them come from The Last Wish. Because your first one, you have the the princess that's a Striga. You start off with him the whole weird political dichotomy of them not wanting to have her either killed or helped, because the Witcher shows up and this princess was turned into a monster because her brother slept with her, got her pregnant, and that's the baby, So that's a big thing with The Witcher, is there is a the all the most of the quotes that you'll get are like Last Wish quotes, like greater, lesser, evil. I'd rather not pick between either. But and I think this is a book that really made people, and made other authors start writing the whole thing about like, well, sometimes, a lot of times humans are the real monsters. I think this was kind of a beginning of that, and also, I kind of feel like The Witcher is kind of that shift, or that really pushed, fantasy. It's that mix of classic fantasy into modern fantasy. I really think that like in the late '80s, that's really when it took shape and took place. Um, but you have just some legendary things where you have, where he runs into a lady known as Shrike, or Snow White. The whole thing with the seven dwarfs. There's a lot of fairy tales that are brought up, in The Last Wish. Um, this is where we meet Jennifer, but we don't meet her until towards the end. And these are all, and sometimes what I'll hear people say is like, well, it's kind of disjointed because there are a bunch of short stories that just kind of have Geralt in them, and you just kind of follow him, short story, short story, short. But here's the thing: there are people who love books that, you know, big books. They'll read that book, and the next book in the series has nothing to do with the previous, thing. And this whole there are series that are built like that, and I'm just like, and you tell me this because this is like, I don't even know if it's not probably not even a 500 page book in total. It's a very short book, um, but just the world of The Witcher and the monsters, the Kikimoras and the Bruxas and the Strigas. He draws heavily from the Slavic mythologies, and just so like if you like, and it's weird. Like I know some people, not in this book. It might be in the next book, but some people are like, oh, there's some like, uh, I don't know if they want to call it like misogyny or whatever, but there's some really strong female characters. Like Yennefer is a strong character. Queen Calanthe is a strong character. Um, yeah, so I think really there's some really strong female characters if that's what you're looking for inside this book. Yeah, there are bad things that happen to women in the book, but it's just that's just a part of the story, but you know Jennifer always gets her revenge on people because she's awesome like that. But yeah, this is where, when one of these short stories, the engagement, that Geralt gets contracted to go to Queen Calanthe's, um, where she's trying to set up an engagement for her daughter to wed her off, and that is pretty much where the rest of the book series from that story, takes off, the child surprise, story. So if you are going through The Last Wish and this is your first time through, pay close attention to the Queen Calanthe wedding engagement story, because that's really the basis for the entire series of The Witcher. And once you start going, continuing through, you're gonna be like, oh man, that's what happened. Um, but yeah, you meet some amazing characters. Um, the wizards, the wizards in this are quite interesting. They have that very old school wizard vibe, but there's a lot of superstition and stuff that's built ingrained into this book. But the fight scenes are excellent. You really get to dive into Geralt's psyche, into this, and as well. I mean, Jennifer's only in one of them, and I mean it's amazing. Just how much Andrzej Sapkowski is able to pull out in such a short period of time. And then, of course, we have Dandelion in this book, and Dandelion is probably the best sidekick ever. I mean, he is just amazing how they contrast this brooding silent type of character in Geralt, and then you have the loud bard ladies man in Dandelion. Is just great. Um, but let me know, how did you feel about The Last Wish? I know, people either love it or they hate it. It seems like. Where do you fall on The Witcher, and in part on The Last Wish? Hit me in the comments. Make sure you like, subscribe, and do all that good stuff. And remember, be more than human.